Empire.
Hello and welcome to my podcast. Do me a favor, subscribe to the John Conn Report. Wherever you get your podcast, you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button. You can smash that like button, subscribe button after what you watched on Thursday night. But if you're looking for us on YouTube, you can find us there as part of Empire Media. That's AMPIRE. Always much appreciated when you tune in, especially at a time like this where you have every right to feel as pissed off as you are, and you should be pissed off because that game, folks, was embarrassing. Anyways, before I get to that, don't forget you can read my work on ESPN.com. I did have a story up on Thursday about Sam Howell, just kind of tracing the roots of who he is, why he's in the position he is, and at least that kid is going to give you some reason to keep watching and to see how does he develop, because I think that kid still has a shot to be a solid quarterback in the NFL. And, you know, I was going to have Bram Weinstein, the voice of the Commanders, on, but speaking of the voice, Bram lost his. So I'm running solo tonight. And listen, man, there's not a lot to say, but there's a lot to say. And so we're going to get to that. And I'll just, you know, because this is an odd week, we got the short week. I'll have more podcasts out next week, probably something out either Monday or Tuesday, just, you know, going over everything, folks, and stay tuned for all that. Anyway, I appreciate you tuning in because, again, you should have a lot of pissed offedness, if that's even a word, because that effort, that showing tonight was embarrassing against the Chicago Bears. You're talking about an 0-4 team coming off a 21-point loss at home, smarting from that, traveling in a short week, and coming here and kicking your ass. That was bad. And you have this team asked the fans, these players have begged the fans to come back out. Packed house tonight out here. Mostly, you know, it was a dominant, obviously, with Washington fans, and they gave them nothing. They gave them nothing to really get excited about. Now, I give the fans credit. There was only one time where they really booed, and that was right before halftime. I'm sitting there thinking there are a lot of times they could have been booing their butts off the field, but they didn't. They stayed with it. And even in the second half, they stayed with it. They stayed with it because it looked like Washington was kind of getting back in, and then the same old crap would happen. That was an embarrassment, folks. And that was, I've covered this team a long time, as you know. I'm hard-pressed to find a worse loss than that one tonight because of the circumstances. They've had more lopsided defeats. That Dallas game the day after Christmas was really bad, but you knew that was going to be bad. They were missing a bunch of guys with COVID, and they were not going to win that game. You knew it was going to be a blowout. There have been other games. You go back, I think the Giants game last year was a really bad loss because, again, same thing. The fans are ready to embrace you. You got a primetime game at home and you lay a massive egg. And that's what they did again tonight. But again, I just can't, I would have to go back and look through all the games I've covered to say, what's the worst loss? Now, there have been times where they've been upset at home against a bad team, but not thoroughly dominated the way they were by the Chicago Bears tonight. Now, again, they climbed back in it. They made the stats look respectable, but the score reflected how this game went. And they did have a chance. I mean, shoot, they have Joey Sly trying to kick a field, missing a field goal at a time where they absolutely needed it, and cut it to a one-score game, make it interesting. And that pretty much ended the game with about 5 minutes left. And so just another total meltdown by this franchise. And it's gotten old. It has gotten old. And I know you feel that way, and you should, because you deserve better. You waited a long time. You're showing up, and they're not. Now, I don't recall something like this. This is just really bad, folks. Magic Johnson, one of the Lou Limited partners, tweets out that he felt like there was no intensity and no fire in the game or by the Commanders in the first half. And that was a problem. And you know what? Players felt he was largely right. We talked to Terry McLaurin. He called it a pretty fair assessment. We asked Montez Sweat, do you agree with this? He said, definitely. We talked to Charles Leno. Now, Leno kind of wove back over to feeling it was more about lack of execution, especially on the offensive end, that defense gives up a touchdown. They got to come back out and do it, and they didn't execute. So he cited that more than he did the intensity because these guys feel like they have an intense group. However, again, Montez Sweat talked about when basically he said that maybe they felt like the Bears would just give it to them, and they clearly were basically more hungry than Washington was. And McLaurin kind of said about the same thing, that when you have a team that's young and hungry and fighting for every play, every yard, this is what happens. It's why he said he wasn't shocked at what happens, because when you come out that way and they're fighting like that, this is the result. And there's a lot of, this is almost like a bye week now, because you have extra time before the Atlanta game. This is a time they have to really go back and reassess who the hell they are and what they're doing, because defensively, man, it hasn't worked. And we know that. Oh, by the way, and one thing, John Allen didn't ask him about the Magic tweet because he didn't know about it until after we talked to him, but he basically said, we got our ass kicked. He didn't basically say it. He said it. We got our ass kicked. And you know what? Of course he was right, because they did. And there's nobody that could say otherwise after a game like that, because what else could you say? That's what happened. And the thing is that defense, and this was not a fluke loss. I mean, the issues that have plagued the defense showed up in a major way tonight on national TV against a team that hadn't won in a long time. I think it was like 347 days. How's that for a stat? This franchise, like, you go back to that Lions game way back when they broke the Lions losing streak with the loss in Detroit. But the issues that plagued the D showed up again tonight. And, so is that shocking that they gave up these big plays? No, because it's who they are this season. This is what they've done. They've given up more 20 plays of 25 yards or more than anybody else in the NFL. Now, right now, of course, they have a lead because they played one more game than everybody but Chicago. But they went into the game tied for the most with 13 such plays. They gave up 3 such plays in the first half alone on Thursday night. And this was supposed to be a defense that was going to be a top unit in the NFL. They're not even close to that. This is horrendous. This is 4 straight games of 30 or more points. This is 1960s territory for how bad this defense is. If you remember, for those of you who've been around a while, and if you weren't, go back and look at the history books. Those teams had great offenses. They had Hall of Famers and Sonny Jurgensen, Charlie Taylor, Bobby Mitchell. Their defenses sucked. But this team has invested in the defense, at least from a draft standpoint. Now, on defense alone, they have 6 first-round picks on that defense, and that includes Emmanuel Forbes. This year, I'm going to count him kind of as a starter, as a third corner. Regardless, you have 4 on the D-line, you have Jamin Davis, and then you have Emmanuel Forbes. On offense, they have 1 first-round pick. So the talent is there. The talent is there. And that's why I say there's no excuses. They had 10 of their 11 starters back. The only newcomer is Cody Barton. Now, you can say how he has or hasn't played. That's fine. 10 of the 11 starters are back. This team, there's no excuse about working in new guys. Every freaking team has new guys working in. This is 10 of 11 on a defense that was good last year, and they're starting like this. And again, all we heard all off season was start fast in the summer, start fast, got to start fast, doing this, doing that. And they haven't started fast at all. They have cratered from the beginning. Now, can they get better? Well, they did get better. They've gotten better in previous years, and they have to get better because a lot of people are going to lose their jobs over defensive efforts like that one. And because the same stuff keeps happening. It's the same system that they played for 4 years. They know the system. At least on offense, you can look and say, hey, you got a young quarterback. You had new stars at 4 line positions. You have a new offense. You have a new coordinator. There's excuses or reasons why the offense is going to have some stops and starts for a little bit go in the season. They needed the defense to be a bedrock. They needed the defense to pick them up during this first part of the season while the offense matured, and it's not happening. In fact, it's obviously quite the opposite is what's happening. They're not creating turnovers. They've caused 1 turnover in the last 3 games combined. That was a point of emphasis. It's why they drafted Emmanuel Forbes. 1 turnover in the last 3 games that they've caused, and they turned it over twice tonight. Not going to get it done, folks. The same stuff keeps happening. I know everybody wants to fire coaches. They're 2-3. That's not going to happen. I know that would satisfy all the fans, but it's not going to make anything better right now. That's not going to happen. That's not how Josh Harris operates. I don't think it's how you want him to operate right now to go at, bring out the pitchforks. But guys are unnoticed. There's no damn doubt about that. And even if I know everybody wants to fire Jack Del Rio, well, then what? Who's the guy in the staff that's going to take over for him? There's no one. The guy who might have would have been Chris Harris, their former defensive backs coach. He's not here. I don't even know that he would have, but they don't have anybody in that staff that you can say, okay, he could just go out and run it, right? Who's the guy? Who's the guy that could do that? Ron Rivera isn't going to go do that. He's a defensive coach, but he's got so much on his plate being a head coach. And I don't think he wants to go back and do that at all. So, and I mean, the last couple of years, Del Rio's gotten this group out of whatever doldrums they started off with, but this has been a really, really bad start. And that's why, like, this one is troubling, because the other ones you could see, like, okay, you didn't do this, you didn't have this, you need to find out about this. This group, and you added the first round corner, and you learn more about them because of the stuff in Baltimore. Not to overemphasize the 2-day practice scrimmage against the Ravens, but that was supposed to reveal a lot to them. And you know what it revealed? That Emmanuel Forbes had some stuff to learn. And from that point to now, it doesn't seem like that's gone through, right? Because the same problems that showed up there are showing up now. And so there's something that has to happen here, and it's not. So you're not going to change it. I'd be shocked if anything changes, but can you tweak things? Yes, you can alter your coverage. You can alter how you're playing them. Everybody wants them to play up and press coverage. Guess what, man? They're getting beaten all coverages, all of them. And, Forbes is getting beat when he's playing press. Now, he's not jamming all the time, but he's playing press, and he's losing because, and this happened twice tonight on the 2 big plays he gave up. He's getting at the top of the route. DJ Moore is giving, they're just separating. There's a little bit of nudge, and there's some hand fighting, and Forbes is getting him, Moore's getting him, but Forbes falls a couple yards off. So that creates separation for Moore. And then he breaks a tackle, makes a miss, whatever. And then it's a big gain, and the one time it's just Emmanuel Forbes just misses the tackle. He goes up to tackle him high. He's too skinny to do that. That's not going to work. So you got to learn how to do that in this league. And then the other time because the separation, he was not in position to go after the ball, but that's what he did. He wasn't trying to pick it, trying to deflect it. Okay. But you're not in position to do that because he created that separation, and that leads to a big play. That keeps happening. And it's not just him. You have Benjamin St-Juste messing up on some plays. And he even admitted, he said he thought he saw something. He thought something was going to happen. It looks like, I think it was Moore thought he was going to go inside. Well, Moore kind of takes him inside a little bit and then cuts back out, and he's wide open. But again, just busted coverage. But he was up. So, what are you going to do? So you're going to have to tweak something, though. But what they did do tonight with Forbes is they pulled him from the game after that missed tackle. After he missed the deflection, I should say. Danny Johnson came in. That's a horrible sign. You're taking out your first round pick in game 5 because and listen, what did they say last week? We're going to find out a lot about Emmanuel Forbes this week. Well, what they found out is he didn't learn his lesson last week. So he's got a lot more to learn. And I'm not trying to be harsh on him. I just think that as an organization, it's got to be, it's frustrating to watch for everybody, right? Because the same stuff keeps happening. And Forbes, the thing I admire about him is he'll sit there and answer all the questions, and he'll admit, and he admits he's got to get better. So, I think he has the confidence that he will get better, but he's got to learn. And I think he's going to still have to adjust to playing at a very skinny weight, because it does matter. And this is one of the things that I paid attention to during the summer, is how were guys attacking him in practice when at the top of a route and all that, what kind of separation were they getting? And it wasn't, he seemed like he did adjust. So he's going to have to adjust to this now. How can you do that? Can you play a little bit? Is he best suited for press coverage in this league? Because, now if he can get his hands on you, then maybe that's what they need to do. I don't know, but I don't know. But what I do know is he's struggling. And, the good thing for him is you got guys like Kendall Fuller in the locker room and Benjamin St-Juste, guys that can really relate to the, every corner struggles. I mean, shoot, Kendall Fuller and St-Juste both gave up big plays. It wasn't just Forbes. It's just that they wanted to see more from Forbes after last week. and they did not. And I knew that there was going to become a point really soon, if he didn't improve, that they would make this kind of a move. Now we'll see what it means. I'm going to guess that going forward, he'll still be back in there because he's still your first round pick. You want to see him mature. He's got a lot of talent, got a lot of ability. He can be a playmaker for you, but he's got to work on some of those aspects, and he's got to be more of a factor getting guys on the ground. And there was on the big run, he takes a bad angle and misses the guy and cuts back. Now, fortunately for them, Cody Barton ran him down, but it was a big run. Having said that, you get to that point in the secondary, you're in trouble anyway. And that's a reflection of the front four and the front six, I should say, because nobody got them. And they were getting gashed on the ground for too long during this game. So it was a negative combined team effort defensively in this game. The D-line didn't do a whole lot until the second half. They finally started putting pressure on Justin Fields, and they were still giving up big plays. But the line was a little bit more effective in the second half at applying the pressure, especially Chase Young. I felt like he was the one making more noise in the backfield. And then Montez Sweat, he and Sweat combined for 2 sacks. Sweat had 1.5, but they need, what concerns me is how bad the secondary has been, because I'm telling you, and my mistake, this is where you feel bad as a reporter, that what you're seeing is you think that they're going to be good. And you think that the secondary's got that versatility and they've got this, they got that, they're going to be good. And I was wrong so far. It's only 5 games, but man, do they look bad. And that's 4 games of 30 or more points in a row. That is bad.
The god of mischief is back and better than ever.
Loki. Wow, great to see you again.
Critics agree Loki Season 2 is
marvelous, great.
And it's finally here.
How much do you know?
Let's assume I don't know much.
A mind-bending adventure. Spectacularly cinematic.
I've been waiting for a moment like this.
It surpasses all expectations.
A little over the top, don't you think? I thought it was spot on.
Loki Season 2, now streaming only on Disney+.
One of the things I get tired of is, again, the whole measuring stick game. And I don't know why I'm on this little rant about that, because I'm tired of hearing about that, because as I told you, measure the seasons now, right? You should be measuring the seasons for your growth, not one game. However, if the Bills game was a measuring stick, well, so is this one. Every game is a measuring stick. Every game you learn something about a team. And what you learned tonight was you can't just show, they're clearly not good enough to just show up and win. They don't have that kind of ability. And it felt like that's what they were doing tonight. And I'm really surprised by that, because it doesn't mesh with who I thought they were when you're around them, that's the approach they would take. But yet they did. And I think this is where you have to get away and say, okay, what is it you can do? Well, it's starting to look like too many guys are trying to make plays, whether on the D line or in the secondary, trying to make that big play. And you don't need to. Make the play, make the tackle. At Forbes, on the one where he tries to deflect the ball, it's a 2nd and 10. If you just because you get out of position, if you just go tackle the guy, it's 3rd and 2. Instead, it's going the other way, and it ends up in points, automatic points. And it would have been 3rd and 2 or 3, and it would have been on the Bears side of the field. So, in other words, you would have still been able to stop them and get them off the field. But because of that, you couldn't. And so those are the things that you can't keep happening if you want to get better. But again, and then Percy Butler has one where I think it's another long touchdown pass where it looks like it's a 2 deep zone, and Kendall Fuller's on the corner, but he needs a safety help. And Butler was eyeing the inside, and maybe that's what he was supposed to do on that. But that's kind of I can't believe you're taking your eyes that much off and you're only focusing on Mooney down the middle when you have a linebacker also coming down. I think it was or someone else was coming down with him and had him covered. And meanwhile, you got a guy running free on their side. Again, I don't know what Butler was asked to do on that play. If he was asked to do that, then you left the corner in a bad spot. And if he was asked to do that, then the corner's got to know, because he's got to sink even deeper. So there's just something didn't mesh on that play. Regardless of, I don't know who exactly is at fault. I'm just telling you something was wrong. And so if it's Butler supposed to be eyeing the inside, which is be unusual, but let's say he is, then the corner's got to drop deeper. but if the corner's not dropping deeper, he's expecting the safety help. So something was off. And why is that? Why is that happening when they've been in this system for that long, in this coverage system for that long as well? So it's one of those things that's like, this stuff becomes inexcusable. And, everyone wants to pin on one guy or this or that, or, whatever. It's everybody, right? I mean, the rookies aren't contributing anything at this point. I mean, Emmanuel Forbes is at least playing from scrimmage, but he's going through some massive growing pains. Now, can he come out the other side? Well, a week ago, I felt like he could, or several days ago, I should say, that I felt like, okay, I think this kid can still do it. So I'm not going to back off that at this point, but he's got a lot to go, man. And, I know, you can debate what they should have done. I'm going to give this kid time because every pick needs that. But man, is it a rough start? So he's going to have to really show his mettle, not just for next game or whatever, but for the rest of the season, because he's not done being tested. And there are going to be good receivers coming down the road, and he's going to be tested every single week. And my thought this time was, hey, they're going to test him, gives you a chance to make some plays, and he did not. Nobody did. I think that's what's really disappointing. Again, St. Juste admitted at times that they're just trying to make plays and do too much. And I think that's where it's difficult. 14 games left, folks. So at least, oh man, I don't know, man. You can go to Atlanta, you can win that game, and you're 3-3, but man, it's 14 games left. Oh, excuse me. No, there's not 14 games left. Where's my math? There are 12 games left. I apologize. My math is off. It's 2:20 in the morning, so I apologize for that. But, I think offensively, you can look at it and say, hey, as Howell improves, then they're going to keep improving. And there's a lot still to like with Howell. Now, there are times we still get rid of the ball a little bit sooner. There's still sometimes he's got to take care of himself better. But there's a lot to like. I mean, he threw some pretty passes out there, and he did have the one pick, and on that one, we in talking to him afterwards, we didn't get into a whole lot of that, and that's something I'd be curious. Like, it was Greg Stroman, former Washington player, who picked that off, had a good game, but he is taking too many hits, and there's no doubt about that. In fact, Charles Leno was asked after the game, "Are you concerned that he's taking too many hits?" And he kind of paused for a minute. He said, "Yeah, I am." And then he said, you understand why they're at the end of the games, you're trying to do this, trying to do that. But as he said, you have to be smart. It's not just about trying to establish another drive in this game. It's about saving the kid for the rest of the season. And he's going out even in those last drives and taking more hits. And is that necessary punishment? And there's certainly a belief, whether it's Bieniemy or Rivera, that they want him in there as much as possible, taking all these reps. But there are players, Leno says it publicly, that they are concerned with how many hits he's taking. So this is the gut check week. This is time for full, brutal honesty within the organization. And, for everything that you're going to say, have at it. You're right. But, they have to get it done. DBs have to get it done. D-line has to get it done. That's where the talent is. And I think you have to ask why. Why are there so many issues with the defensive backs? I mean, they lost Chris Harris. Was he the big reason why they're in this situation? I don't know. But that's a big change. Or are they asking them to do different things? That I don't know that. I haven't heard that. But it's something you have to ask about everything. And because you can't just blame Emmanuel Forbes because he's not the only one giving up the big plays. It's all of them. That's the problem. It's all of them. And so that's the maddening thing. If it was just Emmanuel Forbes, you could say, well, if once he cleans it up, then they're okay. But that is not what's happening at all. So, we can talk all we want about Forbes. He's a kid. I mean, this is a kid who's learning in the NFL, and they're putting him in, he's being put in tough situations, but that's the life of a corner. Every corner comes in the NFL and get put in a tough situation because you're a rookie corner. And so they're going to test you. And if you're a first round pick like that, And if he has been bigger, he's a top 10 pick based on what he did in college. Well, then these are the guys that you're going to face. And these are the guys that you have to face. And the adjustment they made was pulling them out of the game. And they were using a lot more 3 safety sets tonight early on because of the Bears package and all that. But then when Forbes was playing, and eventually they had to take him out because he just wasn't getting the job done. And at some point this is what you're expected to do. But again, it wasn't just him. He's going to have to learn. He's going to have to just keep getting stronger. That's going to be a big thing because again, their guys are getting some separation of the top routes just with some nudges here and there. And that's going to be something he has to continue to adjust to. But I keep saying it, the talent is there. So we'll see where he goes. Again, another tough week. How does he respond now? How does this team respond? That's going to be interesting to see. And all they can do is prepare for Atlanta. Because again, anybody expecting these massive changes, I just don't know how that's going to help them and where you can turn for anything. So this has to be solved from within. And this group has gone on runs before when we've looked at them and said, hey, that was ugly. You've got to go win. And then they would. And they'd win a few in a row. However, you can't keep counting on that every year. You can't keep digging that hole and then expecting to dig out of it. They have a brutal second half of the year schedule. They needed to win this game. They needed to win. Now, is the season over? Hell no. Because you go out and beat Atlanta and you beat the Giants. Now you're 4-3, and then you have the Eagles at home and a team that you felt you should have beat. But can you do that? Can you play with that consistent effort to get those winning efforts? I don't know. Well, they have a lot to prove here, man. Guys are pissed. I will say, like after the Eagles game, one of the encouraging signs to me was how upset they were and how stung they were. And maybe it affected them more than we realized. But crap, the Bears blew a 21-point lead at home and had to travel on a short week. So and nobody in that locker room used that as an excuse. They were asked about that. It's like, no, it's no excuse because one of them even brought up the Bears having lost. So it's not an excuse. So, but I was encouraged by that because hey, they're not taking this as a moral victory. They're really pissed because they think they're a better team. And then they go out like that. Well, how do you respond to this now? Could that fuel them a different way? And Terry McLaurin is even like, you got to make sure that, you don't want the season going. It could go one way or another. So your only choice is to come back and work hard and play better. But the thing that's concerning with the D is that they have been in this system. This is a veteran group and they're playing like this. It's unacceptable. And I know that they feel the same way. I mean, what I'm saying is what you're saying is what they're saying. It's the same damn thing. So all you can do is you have to go out and you have to go beat Atlanta. That's what they have to do. Get your record to 3-3, because if not, now you're going to start getting a lot of heat, even more than you are now. You fans are ready to embrace this franchise again, and you've showed up in these 3 home games. They've got to reward you more. Anyway, that's enough from me. That's a lot of ranting. It's late. I need to go home, go to bed, and so do you. And you need to do whatever you do on whatever day you're listening to this. And we'll be back. I'll probably be back. I think probably Monday. I think Monday. But you'll find out. Just tune in. Just check Monday, and I think I'll have something out Monday morning. And I'll have a few more next week, and we'll talk about this and where this team goes. And that's it, folks. Talk to you next time.